Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I didn't react to the New York Knicks and Indy game or the Minnesota Timberwolves game uh, where they just destroyed OKC in game three. Um, game two for the Indy game, I wanted to just say a couple words. With the game starting, game three coming up today at 5 p.m. Um, the New York Knicks in a little bit of trouble. Yeah, I think I think it's safe to say that. But what I took from game two was a lot of what others were saying. Was essentially, the idea that you can do certain things as a coach and get away with them. Like, for example, not playing more than 8 players. It's kind of tough, man, when you're going up against an indie team that literally plays almost the entire unit. I mean, you're looking at so many fresh legs coming at you. Ben Shepherd had 13 minutes. Ben Matherman had 11 minutes. TJ McConnell, 14 minutes. Obi Toppin had 19 minutes. Their starters are getting a breather in these playoffs. Their starters are able to sit down and replenish their legs. Meanwhile, Mikal Bridges playing 45 minutes. Jalen Brunson playing 39 minutes. Your bench, you got Mitchell Robinson down there for 29 minutes and Miles McBride playing 25 minutes. But after that, you got Cam Payne playing 9 minutes and then nobody else getting in the game. Precious Achiuwa ain't playing none. DeLon Wright ain't playing none. No Landry Shamet. No Tyler Kolek. These are pretty solid players. I mean, they don't have the greatest bench, but I think this is one of those situations where you look at the New York front office and you don't necessarily blame them for not putting together a big time bench because they don't have a coach that's willing to play a bench. So it's best to invest in your starting lineup severely more than most teams. Some of that bench money goes to your starting lineup because he ain't going to play the bench. And this is why you don't keep a coach like this in your situation, because you end up constructing your roster to fit his style, and that style doesn't fit the game you're playing. So you go up against a team like Indy, and they have more looks to throw at you. They have fresher legs to throw at you. And you just find yourself getting out schemed. And I think that's what's happening to the Knicks. They're getting out schemed. Game one, they blew the game. It was an anomaly. You had Naismith go completely nuts. You're not going to see that very often. That game should have been in the box for the Knicks. But that's why it's so important to win game one, because you're going to have games like game two where you're just going to get, play pretty even game for the most part with the other team, but still get beat. Now you're down 0-2 instead of having a split, and you're headed back to Indy with the potential of being swept if you don't win game three. You don't want to fart around. It's the same thing I said about the Lakers series. In game one, we farted around, and we never recovered. We never recovered. And you just can't afford to do that in these playoffs. Not against teams like Indiana. Not going to work. I wasn't as critical of Thibodeau for not playing Karl Towns more than 28 minutes in game two, because I understand that they have Mitchell Robinson to turn to, and Mitchell Robinson has been doing a lot of good things. 3 blocks, 9 rebounds in this game, 4 of them offensive boards. Karl Towns is a much greater source of scoring, but he's not doing anything defensively. He was a -20 in this basketball game. Getting away from him wasn't the worst idea to me. When you have a good option like Mitchell Robinson. If you don't have that option, then you don't do that. Playing Cam Payne, I heard bad things about Cam Payne's minutes. I don't remember seeing too much Cam Payne. I didn't watch too much of that game, even though I intended to. I chimed in probably around the end of the third quarter, so I missed a lot of what happened there. But Josh Hart only giving you 6 points. That's not enough. He needs to be more productive. If the Knicks are going to have any success in this series, he can't have a 6-point, 6-rebound game. That's never going to cut it for his production. It's not that the Knicks played all that poorly. Mikal Bridges could have, he shot 50%, 18 attempts. That's not bad. Jalen Brunson had his 36 points and 11 assists. He's been a superstar in this series. But, I mean, you just have Pascal Siakam go crazy for 39 points. 15 of 23 shooting efficiency. I mean, when he's having a game like this, I told people that when I made the preview video, Pascal Siakam and Karl Towns, it's a toss-up. Even though Karl has the bigger name, Pascal can outplay Karl in any given game, if not every game if he wants to. And Pascal's proven that. He's out playing Carl right now. Um, and then Naismith, Nembhard, TJ McConnell, those are great role players. But Obi Toppin, these dudes are fantastic role players. Ben Mathurin had a horrible game, 11 minutes of play. They have so much depth and so much confidence in the other guys that Ben Mathurin, one of their lottery picks, who only lost his job because of injury issues, is now kind of pushed to the back of their bench. That soups their bench up dramatically because, like I said, I expect a Ben Mathurin game somewhere in this playoffs. You know, this is somebody who can go for 35 on a good night. He's a good player. Ben Shepherd hitting shots. I mean, this is a very good Indiana team. They're a lot better than they were in the regular season right now, and they don't find themselves lacking in confidence playing all of their team. They have a bunch of players that they can comfortably play. Even Jarris Walker's a high-level second-year guy who's not getting any opportunities. Let's say they have an injury or something. If they go to him, suddenly you see offensive rebounds and pushing around and all different types of stuff he's capable of doing. Johnny Furphy's a nice rookie who can go. Like, their team is good. Isaiah Jackson's out for the season. You don't even miss him out there. They're so talented as a team. So I just think right now, looking at the New York Knicks, I like the top heaviness of the New York roster. And if they can get a whole lot out of those 5 or 6 players, boy, is it a fantastic matchup for the Knicks to face a team like the Pacers. But if they're going to continue to phase out, particularly, there's 2 players that I don't think they should really be phasing out, the Knicks. I don't really like most of this bench, but Precious Achiuwa should be out there. You can't afford to not have Precious Achiuwa out there. He's talented enough to get playing time in this series, especially with your bench being as shallow as it is. And Tyler Kolek, the rookie, facilitator, playmaker. You would be wise for giving him some opportunities. He can really go. I'm not so sure about PJ Tucker this stage in his career. He'd probably be in China if it were up to me. Ariel Hukporty's a nice rookie as well, but I wouldn't throw him out there. Pacome Dadier I know can play, but he's a kid. He's not ready yet, I'd imagine, especially since he hasn't played all season. But with his skill set, Pacome Dadier is somebody who can go. Functionally, Pacome Dadier is somebody who can definitely go, but I don't. They haven't used him all season. He's probably not ready. He's young, very young, but his jump shot, mid-range, all that, he's a smoking great type mid-range shooter to his ceiling. When he becomes who he's going to become, this is a 30-point scorer right there in Pacome Dadier. So, like, I already know what he can do. I know what some of these guys on the Knicks can do. Tyler Kolek can help them, and they're not using him. Tyler Kolek's on the offensive end could give you some TJ McConnell. What TJ's doing on the offensive end, Tyler can do on the offensive end. So it's like this is the type of stuff that you end up missing out on with Tom Thibodeau. And Tom Thibodeau is a defensive-minded coach who likes defensive-minded players. But you're going up against an Indiana team that, even with a pretty good defense, you're probably still not going to be able to stop their offense. They come at you in too many different ways, which I think they may want to do is try to run the score up a little bit. And so maybe he's looking at this the wrong way. Karl Towns is not out there because he can't defend. But Karl Towns is a guy who scored 70 points in a basketball game last year. You kind of want to use Karl Towns a bit more for trying to match them bucket for bucket. Now, defense is very important. You want to get stops. And Mitchell Robinson can give you stops. McBride has been a fantastic defensive player. I don't mind playing McBride. I don't know that I need Miles McBride out there for 25 minutes. I don't know that he's, on a cold shooting night going to give me enough production to really say I'm so comfortable with him out there. He's a hell of a defender, and I think he's going to be really good going forward. I like him a lot, but I don't know that I need him out there for 25. I don't know. I don't know that I really have that type of confidence in him right now to be the third guy off my bench when I'm only playing 3 people, or the second guy off my bench when I'm only playing 2. Campaign, you can't really count that. He played 9 minutes and he was awful. But like my question is, why do you have so much confidence in Campaign but no confidence in Precious Achiuwa? I like Achiuwa a lot more than Campaign. I like DeLon Wright a lot more than Campaign. I like Landry Shamet and Tyler Kolek a little more than I like Campaign. So why is Campaign the guy that I'm using? I just don't. Like other people who've been talking about the the New York Knicks. My head's everywhere. You don't love Tom Thibodeau in every situation. I personally think Tom Thibodeau is an amazing defensive coordinator next to a guy who's the head guy. I think he's proven he can give you a legendary defense if he focuses in on defense. But as far as him being in control of the whole unit, I've never really thought he was that great of a coach. I think he's better than some. I don't think he's like one of them amongst the worst, but he's about average for me. And he caps himself off because he doesn't believe in playing more than 5 or 6 people all season long for 82 game schedule. I don't know that the logic is in place with the data that he's seen. He's been head coach of many teams for many years. Has he not seen his teams wear down doing this over and over again? At some point in time, you just got to say, yo, this does not work. You have got to play more players. And I've broken down why I think it's so important for coaches to play more players throughout the course of the regular season, because then you have a sweet medium of guys who are ready to go if someone else gets hurt, and guys in the starting lineup not being worn down all season to where you will be leaning on guys who haven't been playing all year when those guys get hurt. It's just, you help yourself so much more when you do it the comfortable way, because even if you got guys on your bench you don't like to use, they're going to get better with more reps. Huck Porty and Kolick and Dottier, they would be serviceable players if they would have gotten 15 minutes a game for 82 games leading up to this point. They would be ready to go. And I know people don't believe in rookies. Maybe rookies get injuries. That can, there are a lot of different things that go into why you don't want to play rookies, and they're reasonable. But at the end of the day, these guys are playing at the highest level of basketball, and you need some of what it is that they do in order to overcome what it is that's coming at you. And he's just not opting to do so because he has this idea that he's going to play the best of his players 90% of the time. And bodies wear down. Just because a person is talented doesn't mean that they're not going to get tired or that they're not going to get worn down. And I just think that he's running his players like they're robots, and I think that is stupid. And it's always been stupid, and it's going to hurt him here, and it hurt him in game 2. I really believe that. Jalen Brunson is a player we said looked a little fatigued at the end of game 1. He played him another 39 minutes in game 2. You only have one day in between each game in this series. So if you don't adjust to the reality of that schedule, and you living in the cosmos as it pertains to these players being robots, you're going to get worn down. You're going to lose to the team that has more of itself on the floor for each game. Fresher legs, that runs and is hard and is great conditioned as team as you. See, that's what he needs to adjust to as well, is understand that, though, you're going up against a very specific Indiana Pacers ball club that, like your Knicks, run all day long. So the advantage that you give yourself when you play 7 players only all season long is the idea that they are more conditioned than the other team because you forced them to be by way of all that damn running. Well, guess what? You're going up against an Indy team that doesn't have that problem. They are extremely well conditioned. You know what I mean? You don't get to run them out the gym, especially this time of year. And they've used more of their team all season than you have, so they're fresher. And you're seeing it. They're beating the Knicks up and down the court. When the Knicks are usually the team that's beating people up and down the court. But around this time of year, specifically, playoff time, second round, third round, the Knicks are usually out of here by injury times. It's injury time for the Knicks is what I'm trying to say. They're usually tired by now. Indy ain't going to have that problem because they're deep. And so I just think the New York Knicks are in a world of trouble. I said that I thought the Knicks would win this series at 6, but I thought it would be the referees that give them the series. At this point, I don't feel that way. I don't feel that way at all. The Knicks choked away game 1 in historically terrible fashion. And in game 2, they just leaned on same old Knicks stuff. Same old Tom Thibodeau nonsense. And it failed them. It failed them dramatically. And so I don't know what to expect in game 3 going back to the Indies place. But I tell you this, I think the Knicks are in a world of trouble now. I've seen teams come back from 0-2. Obviously, we all have, but do I expect that that's something that we could just think is going to happen right now against this Indiana club that plays like the Terminator? I don't. Hell no, I don't think that. I think the Pacers have proven they're a more capable basketball team right now. It's more capable. They have fresher legs. They have more bodies they trust, and they can throw more looks at you. And the Knicks didn't respect that in game 1. You need to close out game 1. You're up by 14 points with like 5 minutes to go. You need to close that game. You're up by like 9 with 56 seconds to go. You can't afford to lose that game. You lost that game, and I think it cost them the series. I think losing game 1, and I know that's strange when you talk about a 7-game series, but I think with the context of what we're looking at, the Knicks lost the series in game 1. And so that's what I have to say about that. Thunder Timberwolves, the Timberwolves came back in roaring fashion in Game 3, won that game 143 to 101, which is like insane. I saw urgency. I saw a team that needed to come back home to their building. I saw Terrence Shannon Jr., whom I've been telling y'all, coach should have been playing all season long. I told y'all they needed his downhill speed and running and all that. The last person who surprised that Terrence Shannon Jr. had 15 points in 13 minutes is me. Because I've been saying he could do this all season. I've been saying they need him against OKC since the beginning of the series. And if you saw my preview video, we talked for about an hour. Terrence Shannon was mentioned more than once as somebody that I thought would match up very well against OKC. Because he's going to help his team get out in transition. He gets easy buckets, and he forces people to foul him because he moves so damn hard. He runs hard. That's the thing people need to understand about Terrence Shannon. He runs like a running back. He's sprinting hard every time. So with him having fresh legs and a lot of confidence and a massive body, he's one more athlete that you have to deal with. And so phasing him out of your situation puts a hamper on you. All these Mike Conley minutes, man, I'd shift out of that. I'd shift out of all that Mike Conley. They don't need nothing about, no disrespect to Mike Conley. I like him for certain situations, but at this point, there's no reason to have him on the floor at all. I'm giving Terrence Shannon all of those minutes. And I'm just shifting Alexander Walker, DiVincenzo, and Anthony Edwards into the point guard positions. That's how I'm doing that. Leonard Miller in 8 minutes of play, 5 of 6 from the field, 11 points, 3 rebounds. See what I'm saying? This is what I've been talking about with the Minnesota Timberwolves all season long. That they have players on the back of their bench that are incredible. Luka Garza, 3 of 3, 7 points in 5 minutes. Come on, bro. This is what I'm talking about. If the Minnesota Timberwolves played their whole unit like the Indiana Pacers plays their whole unit, they're a different basketball team. They're a different basketball. And this is what you saw. You saw them go to garbage minutes after having a big explosion. And then you saw the depth and the talent and the efficiency capability of their roster show up in garbage time. This is what they can get out of these dudes all the time. And so that's what I'm talking about. 16 minutes for Donte DiVincenzo, 2 of 2 from behind the arc. That's the type of Donte DiVincenzo you need. Not shooting 12 threes and all that. You ain't a better basketball team for that. Give some of them minutes to Terrence Shannon. Give some of them minutes to Leonard Miller. This is what I've been telling people. Leonard Miller is a strong power forward. Strong. Plays hard. Terrence Shannon. Strong. Plays hard. Big bodies. Physical players. You don't want to phase them out for Mike Conley. I mean, no disrespect. But you're not better for that. You're better for this. And if they give themselves a healthy dose of these players off the bench, it makes for a fresher Julius. It makes for a fresher McDaniels. It makes for a fresher Mike Conley, Rudy, Ant-Man. And look, man, Ant-Man was just spectacular. His numbers don't do it justice. 30 points, 2 steals, 6 assists, 9 boards. He felt like he had 60 points out there the way he was shooting the basketball. 12 of 17 from the field, 5 of 8. This was the most efficient Anthony Edwards game I've seen in a while. Maybe ever. I haven't laid a whole lot of eyes on efficient Ant-Man personally. I know he's done it because he's a superstar and I had him on a million fantasy teams over the last several years. I know he can play that well, but I haven't seen him really shoot efficiently and really get into his bag in this regard before until now. And I was in awe of him. 30 points is like the minimal amount of what I thought he had actually had. He was a plus 36. The dude was fantastic. Julius Randle, same thing, man. The aggressive Julius Randle must continue to play in this series. No turnovers for Juju. 24 points, 3 assists, 4 boards. I'd like to see him hit the glass a little harder, but 9 of 15 from the field. He's shooting very well in these playoffs. He needs to be considered as a player who's much improved in the playoffs. Since everybody wants to say he's the worst playoff player in the world, he's had a very good playoffs and his team's still alive. You got to give him credit for that. Rudy Gobert, 3 of 6 from the field. You know, at any moment he can explode for 30 points. I'm expecting one of those games to come, and I'd imagine OKC, if they've been doing their homework, they know what's going to happen. Yeah, he's scoring under 10 points most of these nights. Yeah, people say he has stone hands and stuff like that. All of that is absolutely true. I do not disagree with any of that, which is why his trade is still, in my opinion, the worst trade in the history of the sport. But I do know that every random game in a while here and there, he goes for 35 points. And you're like, how the hell did this happen? It's going to happen again. So look out for that game. But yeah, this is what I have to say, man. I'm not surprised that Minnesota blew OKC out. If you listen to my preview video, that was one of the things we also said. We said that they're going to be blowouts on both sides. Why? Because neither one of these teams are consistent shooting the ball. Neither one of these teams. OKC has games when they can go for 143 points, but they're not going to do that every night. That's what I said. They're not going to do the history of OKC, though they win basketball games a lot of different ways. Some nights they go for 150 points. Other nights they go for 101 points. Just like the Minnesota Timberwolves, which is why I thought this would be a long series. Because the Minnesota Timberwolves are tale of two teams. Either they can't score at all, or they're dropping 115 or better. And that's what they've shown you in this series. That's exactly what they've shown you in this series. In the first two games, what they scored? It was 88 points in the first game, launching all these threes like idiots, no kind of sense. And they had 88 points they dropped in the first game. 103 points they dropped in the second game. Both of those games, they couldn't get their offense going. But that's what they've been showing me all series, all playoffs rather. And what they do in game 3, 143 points. It's all or nothing with them when it comes to the offensive end. They don't have any sweet medium. They don't have a balance about themselves. It's not like you can count on them to give you 115 every night. No, it's either 85 points or 115 or better. That's what it is with Minnesota. They found their offense in game 3. They're going to be another game where they're going to score 82 points, 84 points. It's coming. Don't think that Minnesota's out the woods. They are definitely not. And don't think OKC is in all the trouble in the world, because I don't think they are. This is a team. This is a set of teams that have the same problem. They're very inconsistent offensively. They tend to think they're better shooting than they are. Both of these teams. They tend to believe that they can shoot when they can't. Neither one of these teams can shoot, and that's my problem with this team. The OKC Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves, both of these teams. What did the Thunder do from behind the arc? 31%, 14 of 44. That's not horrible. Minnesota shot 50% from the 3, 20 of 40. I do not expect to see that very often. And Minnesota just shot well, 57% from the field. I mean, that's damn near an anomaly. I do not expect Minnesota to duplicate that against this defense again. I don't. They're going to have to find another way to win this. I don't see them continuing to shoot like that. 30 assists for Minnesota. This is not who they are offensively. They won the glass 50-31. Now that can be duplicated again. Because they won the rebounding total in every game in the regular season against OKC. That's where OKC could really get hurt, is on the glass. The turnovers, they beat OKC in that area. 10 turnovers for Minnesota, 15 for the OKC Thunder. So that's probably not duplicatable too much. OKC doesn't really turn the ball over that much, but you got to give credit to Minnesota's defense in this game. They had 6 steals, forcing 15 turnovers there. So it's 9 unforced turnovers for OKC. So a lot of stuff that OKC did looked to me like they took their foot off the gas. It was like they were the polar opposite of the Minnesota Timberwolves. And Minnesota came in playing like they were going to get eliminated if they didn't win this game. The type of urgency you would want your team to show up with after dropping 2 straight on the road. OKC came in like they won 2 games at home, have owned this team, and they look young, like they weren't aware of the elevation of a team whose back is seemingly against the wall against you. It's like they weren't prepared for the elevation. And that's why I think, as talented as OKC is, I still think they're vulnerable to not win the championship here. And it's because of crap like this. It's because the youth mentality of this OKC team is real. They were not expecting Minnesota to play as desperate as they did. They didn't expect that Minnesota would come out with the type of energy that they did. And to be honest with you, OKC, if they were an older team, would have definitely expected that. They would have, like any team that's got a bunch of 27, 28-year-olds on it is going to expect that, Minnesota's got their back against the wall. They're a team that plays with a lot of energy. They're a team that's, probably going to have role players to shoot better at home. We need to be ready for them to elevate their game double time And OKC came out laissez-faire. We get the MVP. Like a bunch of little kids that didn't understand that they were about to get their tails whooped. And that's what happened. They got their tails whooped, man. And so I wasn't overly surprised. Nothing about this series has surprised me. Minnesota scoring horribly in the first game. Shooting. The only thing that really surprised me was how many threes Minnesota was comfortable shooting in the first game. That's what surprised me. Other than that, everything I've seen has been pretty run-of-the-mill of what it is I expected. This blowout was not surprising at all to me. I did wonder if Minnesota was going to find a way to compete with OKC. I said that at the end of game 1, or game 2 rather. But at the end of the day, I did expect for OKC's offensive woes to start showing their head against a very good Minnesota defense. And it's fool's gold to win 2 games against a team like Minnesota, with Minnesota playing so poorly, especially in game 1, so against themselves, especially in game 1, to think that they're not going to get it together and show you why they're here. So OKC just continues to show me that they're a bit overrated as a team. They are, man. I'm just going to be honest with you. And I think I'm the only person on the internet that I've heard say this. They're a bit overrated. They are a really good defensive team. Legendary based on the lack of defense in the league. They're like killing everybody defensively. That doesn't mean they're one of the greatest defensive teams I've ever seen. They are a good defensive team. But I don't think they're great like some of these people are saying they are. They're not great. The field is weak. I think that's a better way to describe it in my opinion. I do think they have some great players who are going to be great, but they're still a developing young team with a souped up roster full of lottery picks. That's what they are. So the mentality of young players is still going to be enriched in their DNA. And that's why I'm not ready to say they're great. They're on their way to being great, but they're puppies. They're still kids out there, most of them. Only person on that team that has any real experience is Alex Caruso. So that they came into this game so severely under-prepared for the elevation of the Minnesota Timberwolves, not surprising. That Minnesota found themselves able to finally get their offense together. We were prepared for that. We told y'all about that. You know, it's just all of the stuff that we're seeing here is stuff that I told you we'd see, pretty much. And OKC, man, I really have a lot of respect for their point of attack defense. I have a lot of respect for the acquisitions of Hartenstein and Alex Caruso. I do have them winning the championship at this point, but I think they're at risk for not, because they still have that childish mentality. That kind of, it's not really front running, but it's like, oh, I'm comfortable now. We can do it. We're this, as opposed to we need to keep working hard in order to overcome a team. And I just think they're going to continue to have games like this in this series and in the finals if they get that far. They're going to continue to have games like this. And if it's Indy that's coming at them, the way that Indy plays, they're going to get blown out in some games too against Indy. I don't think that's a sweep by any stretch of the imagination. And so the Knicks, I don't know. The Knicks got to find a way to claw themselves back into that Indy series for us to have the confidence that they can actually do anything against OKC. I don't. If the Knicks were the team to come out somehow, maybe we'd have more confidence in them to say that I think they can make a series out of that. But if right now, I just think it's the wrong time to be asking me if I think the Knicks can win any games in that OKC series. But Indy, the way they play, bro, the experience could prove to be a problem. I think the matchups are a lot better than people think in that particular series. But OKC got work to do. You know, I think they will beat Minnesota. But I said OKC in 7. I'm not changing my pick. I'm not. I think that there's going to be another game where OKC beats Minnesota by 35. I think it's going to be another game where Minnesota wins by 20. Like, I still think there's a long way to go in this series because both of these teams are bricklayers that think they can shoot. Both of these teams play excellent defense. Both of these teams are young, more or less. And you're going to have to deal with that. On a night when the defense is tough on one side and the offense is tough on the other, you might see a close game here and there, that kind of thing. But there are going to be nights where one team is cold on the offensive end and the other team is hot, and you're going to see this. And so that's to be expected. I think that's to be expected. I think if both of these teams are clicking, I do expect OKC to be the better team on the floor. But because OKC is so bipolar, just like Minnesota, I still think there's going to be some more back and forth. And they're both very young teams. They're going to be, very deep teams so they can withstand injury. Hopefully, this signals Coach Finch having more confidence in his bench, because he does have one of the strongest benches in all of basketball, but he thinks he's an extension of Tom Thibodeau most of the time. So hopefully this game showed him something. You got some guys, man. You be wise to play them against these young guys and stop running Mike Conley little behind out there, give you 7 points. He ain't doing nothing at all on either end of the floor. It's not happening in this series. So that's pretty much my point of view, man. This series ain't over. This Minnesota OKC series ain't over yet. It ain't. OKC has to prove to me now that they can win in Minnesota. And so, that's just like Minnesota's have to prove they can win in OKC. So, yeah, man, that's what I want to say. I just want to come here and express my thoughts about both of those games, where these series are at this point. I'm a little more surprised about what's going on with the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers than I am about what's going on with Minnesota and OKC. I think both of these series could potentially be long series, but New York is in the same boat that Minnesota was in before Game 3. You got to prove you can win in this series. And once you do that, then we can start seeing a path for the series to extend. But I think New York is in dangerous space right now. In a very dangerous space because they farted around in Game 1. And against a team like Indiana, you can't afford to do that. So I think the Knicks have the weakest bench of the 4 teams. And I think because of that, they may be the most vulnerable to be eliminated first. And so that's pretty much what I got to say, man. Tonight's game, again, starts at 5 o'clock. Knicks versus Pacers shifts back to Indy. And tomorrow, Game 4 of the Thunder Timberwolves is at 5:30, the second game in Minnesota. So we'll be watching those. And like I said, if it's something to comment on, I'll comment on it. Otherwise, I'll just see y'all later down the road in these series. So that's pretty much what I got to say. My name is BDO44. Thank y'all for watching.